Subscribe to Showbiz India's YouTube channel and be sure to click on that bell icon for instant notifications.
And right now with me, I have the pleasure of having the gorgeous Pooja Kumar once again on Showbiz India. Welcome. How are you doing? You look gorgeous as always, first of all.
Thank you, Reshma. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Now you have a movie releasing right around the corner. It's a series of love stories on Z5. And you're coming back with one of your favorites, I think, Priyadarshan. So tell me all about it.
I've known Priyan sir he gave me my first job. So I had hosted the pre-show that Mr. Bachchan had done in the Miss World pageant that happened in Bangalore. Priyan sir was the director of the whole show. And so I had to memorize about 45 minutes of information. We just got along great because I actually did my memorization and I did it live. 20 years later now, he's finally directed me, which I'm so excited about. It's a film called Forbidden Love. There are 4 different love stories having to do with love and having to do with women and how they deal with it and what their experiences are within love. And there are 4 winning, national award winning directors. I play a woman who's in her mid-30s. She's been married for about 10 years. And, like most women who've been in relationships, after a while, you start questioning, am I really in love? Am I really, sort of staying connected with my husband? And I think a lot of women go through that sort of situation, which is why I really loved it when Priyan approached me about it, which was, how do women deal with these sort of situations that come up in their life? And we all go through those experiences, How do you still keep that spark? What I liked about this film was showing sort of the vulnerable side of the woman, and then sort of what she experiences in the sense of she gets sort of used and gets taken advantage of. And then we have to kind of figure out, how does she deal with that?
And when did you shoot this?
We shot this about 1.5 years ago.
Okay, and this was shot in India?
We shot it in India. It was a quick, 10-day shoot.
What is your thoughts on this ongoing debate about nepotism in Bollywood?
I just wish people would be concentrating on work. Let's just concentrate on getting good stories out there. Let's concentrate on script writing, on TV shows, on things like that. There's always going to be differences within people. I mean, even in America, if you talk about Hollywood and you talk about European cinema, there's always going to be some level of, access that people have and they don't have. That's just how the world is. But I do think now more than ever, the acceptance of new people coming into the industry is, I would say, the most accepting that it's ever been than before. When I went to India, they weren't open to new people. I was one of those sort of first people who went over there as a pioneer and wanted to do things and sort of open up those doors. And it wasn't easy because they weren't accepting of people at that time. So now I say for all the new girls and guys, my God, you're so lucky. They want to take new people and they want to introduce new people and all that. So it's just a great time to be, someone who's not from the industry and make your mark. And I think, when Sushant Singh Rajput, I keep bringing him up a lot. I think has affected a lot of people. He's one person where you can say, look, he came and he did it. He made it happen. And it's not easy. It's not easy. This is a very cutthroat industry. And so unless you love it fully, I always tell everyone, don't do it. This whole topic of nepotism and all that, it's okay, fine, it's there. Great. Now let's move on. How do we solve it? And we solve it by making more projects.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to ask you this question, particularly because you went at a time where there was hardly any infiltration of the Indian diaspora entering into art in Mumbai. So it must have been difficult for you. How did you get over some of your trials and tribulations?
I was lucky that my parents were very supportive, number one. Number two, I had this confidence coming from America that I'm trained and I have the background of education. And I think that was key for me. I tell all the girls and I tell all the ones who are good at getting into acting, I was like, please get educated. Just, and training, meaning go to an academy or go get training, because the confidence that that gives you, then you're able to sort of tackle any sort of situation and adapt.
There's also a lot of talk about bullying. Did you experience any bullying?
You know, I didn't experience any bullying because maybe I was a bully. I don't know.
I like that.
No, I mean, all jokes apart, I didn't experience any bullying. I didn't, and maybe because I don't know, maybe because the way I looked at situations, or whether I presented myself, or how I just adapted. And I think adaptation was key in my life. And so I didn't even experience any of that. But then when it was happening, I didn't partake in it, obviously. I mean, I would see people who do that, and I would just sort of step away.
You did see people bullying other people.
Yeah, there were those things that were happening. And so like I was like way too young to even understand what was happening at that time. So, only now when I look back.
Bullying, like, could you give me an example of what would you consider as an incident?
God, it's so hard to say. I mean, it's in India, they kind of, you know, they say things, and then as an American, you don't really understand what they're saying. It's just different, you know, maybe because of the language. I was still learning Hindi, and they would say certain things, and then you wouldn't understand, and you say, oh, there's a double meaning to it. So like that was, I would say there was more of like bullying, not physically, but it was bullying like sort of psychologically. You know, they would say certain things, and
like sexual harassment kind of.
No, that I never experienced. Luckily, I did not experience that when I was there. But there's just certain things. Oh, maybe you should do this. This will be good for you, or maybe you should do that, and that'll be good for you, and maybe you should do this. So it was very tough.
What perhaps was your most favorite scene about this film?
Wow. So it's a very serious film. The biggest thing with this, I would say, the two messages, plus what I like about it, which I'll get to in a second. But the biggest message, which I loved in this film, was that for men to like really love their wife and really love their partner, because life's already so tough, you know. And so, and your women take care of the house, and they take care of everything, you know, in your life. And actually, women don't want that much. They just want to feel loved, and they want to feel attended to, and they want a sense of security. And the other message is for women that, look, if you're feeling vulnerable, you know, think before you act, before you take any sort of drastic steps, because any step you take is going to be a very difficult one to go back on. That's number one. And number two, talk to them. You know, you don't have to be the nagging wife. You can just talk. And I think that's what's something that we, as Indian women, we just sort of suppress things, because we're like, acha, theek ho jayega, don't worry, and all that stuff. And theek ho jayega, oh, 20 saal baad, then you're like suffering. So why do you want to even do that? And one of the favorite scenes I have is with my husband, who is played by Harsh Chaya. You know, I tell him that, like, look, I think there's something wrong between us. And he was like, and he sort of reacts in such a way where he's sort of surprised, but then takes a moment and says, okay, let's talk. I just love it, because he was like thinking like, nahi, kaise? Matlab, sab to acha chal raha hai? Like, I have a job and you're doing fine and everything. So, but then he actually takes that moment and really like kind of takes it in. And that's one of the, it's a quiet moment, but it's like really critical of what it says about relationships.
And I can't wait to see it. Thank you again, Pooja.
Thank you so much for having me.